What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for episode 7 of our Unpopular Opinions. I know you guys love it out there, and I know John loves it even more than you guys out there. And let's get straight into the first one, who from KFKDK saying Hill is a world-class player. I know you're going to agree with this one, John.
Done. Next one. The funny thing is, it's early days and it feels a little bit knee-jerk to say it, but I mean, you just have to go what you're seeing in his movement, his touch, his desire. Like he just seems like he's got that X factor about him, and yeah, it is very early on. But I mean, I can see a superstar there. I really can.
Superstar in the making, though. He's not world class just yet.
Well, yeah, we don't know, do we? It's because he's not getting the game time. But I mean, he looks absolutely electric, and I think if he does get a run of games soon, I think you're going to see him just absolutely explode.
Do you think that potentially he's a bit too lightweight for the Premier League as it stands?
I would like to see him bulk up a little bit, but I still see so much in his game that I think he doesn't even need to bulk up as much as other players needed to bulk up in the past, if you know what I mean. I think he's got other ways of sort of countering that.
Do you think his best role is always going to be like in a number 10 or off the left-hand side or something like that? Or do you reckon he could thrive a bit more deeper
I know
down?
you were saying that before, weren't you? I mean, what I like about him is that he's always calling for the ball. He's always trying to get close to the ball. And I think our weakness is often in that deeper area, that we don't really have players that are always demanding the ball. Skip demands it a lot more than Winks did. Winks goes missing a little bit in that position. So from that respect, I think I like your thinking on that. Is that what you mean? He's always like wanting to get...
Like a Luka Modric kind of style centre mid.
Yeah. So you see him in that position, do you?
I don't see him in that position. I don't see him in that position right now, but I think maybe as he develops his career and develops his game, I think maybe. It's just a maybe. It's just a question.
I think, late in his career, he could probably move into that position. But I think his biggest strengths, his biggest weapons is his movement and his ability to like get into the pockets and like get into spaces and like quick 1-2s. Is like his fluid interchanging. I don't see him in that deep lying central role, because that kind of it will like mean that he's more
playmaker.
Yeah, that will mean that you'll cut all those aspects out of his game. But when he slows down, he has to adapt his career later on in his career. I think then you might be able to see that a little bit more. But for now, I want to see him like really just unleashed in the spaces, in the pockets.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, this one's from Daniel Kingsley.
My cousin.
Oh, is that your cousin?
Yeah.
Hey, cuz. Don't know how unpopular this is, but Skip is bang average.
What's he smoking? What is bang average? Skip. Why?
Everyone loves Skip now, don't they? Yeah.
I don't understand how he can say Skip is bang average. He's come in off a brilliant season in the Championship, and he's looked completely at home in our central midfield. Completely at home.
Yep. I mean, he's looked good. I mean, it's like, we're asking a lot from him, and I think he's passed the graduation, hasn't he, in the first 3 games. I mean, admittedly, I would say, if we're trying to be balanced about it, I would still say that in the opening exchanges, the first 10-15 minutes, he still seems to make the same sort of mistakes. Like he hasn't really caught up with the speed of the game, and he's given like silly little cheap fouls away on the edge of the area. And I think he's done that in the games that he's played. Yeah. But then he's sort of grown into the game, and he's sort of like caught up with the speed of the game. And then he's looked like he's been in control. He's been quite aggressive, more aggressive than Winks ever was. But then at the same time, I wouldn't say he's quite as good as some fans are saying. Like he's like top draw. I still think he's got a long way to go.
I don't think people. I think
there's some fans.
I think people are saying that this is. I'm talking for myself here. I think when I say that he's really good and he's settled in the team well, I'm more looking like towards the future. Yeah. And seeing what a player he can grow into. It's all about nurturing his talent and building and always getting better. Right now, I think he looks at home. But he's, like you say, he's nowhere near the complete player yet. And I think you're completely right in saying that he takes a bit long to grow into games. He gives away a few cheap fouls, and I think that will eradicate from his game as he moves on.
Yes, that's what we're saying about him. I think he's passed so far with flying colours, but
he's
there's
passed
definitely
the litmus test, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's passed the litmus test. But to say he's bang average is a little bit harsh, because he's still a young kid.
Harsh.
Yeah, he's still a young kid, and I think he's done the job asked of him, and it's 3 clean sheets. So it'll be difficult to say that he's bang average from those performances, because I think he's really thrown himself into a lot of tackles and blocks, and he's really put his neck on the line so far. So from that respect, I would say that he's doing a good job so far.
And you got to remember, this is the first time in his career where he's had like a run in the Spurs side in the Premier League. Before, last season he had a great run in the Championship, but this is a whole level above that.
I actually think it's a long time coming. I think he should have been given more of a chance in the last couple of seasons, but he was frozen out a little bit. So for me, I really wanted to see this even 2 seasons ago when we did the ratings. I was like, I want to see Skip instead of Winks. I want to see Skip instead of Winks. But look, it's taken a long time for him to earn his place, but now he's got it. I think so far so good.
Yeah. Let's move on. Nuh THFC saying Dane Scarlett has potential to be better than Harry Kane.
Yeah, I mean, that's unpopular, isn't it? Because, Kane set a very high bar there. So, for anyone to reach that level of Kane is going to be tough. So I don't know what you're seeing in Dane that gives you that hope that he's going to be better than Kane. I mean, he's definitely showing promise. And, when he came through the youth system, everyone was, singing his plaudits, weren't they? They were saying Jose loved him, and they were saying this could be the next star. We're yet to see that really like set alight, but I think I think there can be some good things from Dane, but whether or not he's going to get to Kane's level, that's going to be a push, isn't it?
Big ask to get to Kane's level. But I see him as a different kind of style of striker to Harry Kane. I see him.
Who do you see him as? Like,
I see him more like Heung-min Son. I do see him as more of a Heung-min Son, a bit faster, coming off the left. I think it might be his preferred position.
I see him more as a Defoe than a Kane, don't you?
Could be.
You know what I mean?
Could be more as a Defoe, yeah. I think as a number 9, he might be. I think his finishing is very good. It's top notch. I think his movement is top notch. I think he needs to bulk up a bit, grow into his body a bit, become a man.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
I think with Dane Scarlett, I've seen stuff in his game when he's played for the first team in the Europa League and what have you, where I think he's well beyond his years.
Yeah.
And I think he can become a very good striker for us. But to reach the heights of Harry Kane, it's very hard to say at this stage.
That's hard to say. I mean, even if he got to the levels of Jermaine Defoe, that's like an achievement, I would say.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I mean, hopefully, you're right on that. And, there's life after Kane and we can bring in the next round.
I mean, I do hope he's right. We all hope he's right, don't we?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
All right, so this one is from Connor Green. Did we just have Connor? Was that the same Connor?
I'm not sure.
Maybe it could be. Harry Winks gets more stick than he deserves, and if the fans backed him more, he could get his confidence back and be getting back into the starting lineup. Ben?
I don't think he gets more stick than he deserves because I think every time he comes on the pitch, definitely in the last year, he's been terrible for Spurs, apart from when it's against lesser opposition. So I think the stick is very much warranted. But I do get your point that saying if he does get his confidence back, he can kind of fight for a first team spot. I don't think he can maybe knuckle down that first team spot, but I think he could definitely fight and be in the squad. I think that when he first broke into the team under Poch, I definitely saw some stuff in his game where I think that, this guy can be a real player, but it just hasn't worked out for him over the past 2-3 years. And for me personally, I think I'd rather just cash in now. I just don't think it's going to happen for him at Tottenham.
I think he's good as a squad player. I think he's good to bring on in the FA Cup games and the Europa games and the occasional Premier League game. But I do think against the top teams that what happens is he can he gets into the position where he has the ability to set the tempo, and because he doesn't do that, I think it sets us on the back foot too much. I think it's very, very marginal. It's difficult to kind of notice it, but because he's a little bit too cautious on the ball. And he doesn't give the ball away. No one really says anything because he's kept the ball. But I think he misses the opportunity to really fizz the ball through the lines and keep us camped out in the opposition's half. And it's kind of almost intangible that his weaknesses, they're a little bit intangible because when he's on the ball, he looks very tidy. And so that's why a lot of people say, he's having a good game, he's having a good game. But for me, against the top teams, I think that we miss a trick when he plays. But then I also, on the other flip side of that, I don't think he's quite as bad as everyone says he is as well.
Some of the performances have been.
Yeah, recently, yeah. So I would say that there have been terrible performances recently, but it's like one of those, when he's in the team, I was going, get him out of the team, he's not quite good enough. But then now he's out of the team, I was going, get rid. I'm like, no, I still think we can deploy him in certain games. I don't think he's suddenly become a terrible player. And I'm his biggest critic as well.
Yeah, if a team, let's say, comes in for around 20 million for Harry Winks, are you taking that?
I would take that. Yeah. I would take that, yeah. But
What's the minimum you would take for him?
What minimum I'd take for Harry Winks? Probably 15 million I would take. But I think that he can play a role in the lesser games. I do, and I think in Premier League games where we're dominating the ball, he will probably look good. He probably would look good. Like against Pacos, he looked good, didn't he? Because we were dominating the ball. And I think if we played teams at the bottom end of the table where we're dominating the ball, I think he would still look good, Winks.
That's why I think he would suit a team like Southampton, you know, Southampton who like to get possession of the ball, who like to control the possession, and they're just not expected to do as much as Tottenham. So I think he would suit Southampton really well.
Yeah, he probably would, yeah. I think it would be good for him as well in his career if he moved on. Yeah.
All right, let's move on and let's go to Gil SZN.
Gilzine. No, it's Gilzine.
Oh, it's Gilzine, yeah. Sanchez will be world class by the end of the season.
This is what I said earlier about how, like, last season, that all the fans like, get rid. Sanchez is a donkey, get rid of him. And now suddenly he's had like 3 games. It's like world class, you know.
At least he's not saying he's world class now.
We are so fickle, though, aren't we, as a fan base?
But I've always said about Sanchez how he's got all the tools to be a world class defender. He's got his height, he's got the aggression, he's got the speed. He can put in a challenge. I mean, I've always said that Sanchez actually has the kind of tools to be a top centre back, but it's his concentration and stuff like that that let him down. If he can improve on that, and his rashness as well, if he can improve on that, then I think he can be a top quality defender. But as it stands right now, there's too much of that in his game.
Yeah, and his positioning's not quite there, is it? You know, it's not like Toby. His positioning was so good that it looks as though he wasn't really working hard because he's always like one step ahead.
Yeah.
You know, that extra yard was in his head as a defender, you know. So if he can get his positioning right and he doesn't kind of lunge in all the time, he just sort of stands players up a little bit more and gets into a better position where he doesn't have to put in that like dynamic sliding tackle, then he could, I think he could definitely grow in stature. But at the moment, I think the jury is still out with Sanchez.
Of course.
And we're going to know very soon, next few weeks, few months.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that is episode 7 of our Unpopular Opinions, the last and final episode coming to you very shortly. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.